Welcome to the 24/7 Prayer podcast. My name is Hannah Heather.
And my name's Brian Heasley.
And we're so glad that you have joined us today. What have we got in store on the podcast, Brian?
Well, for a while now, 24/7 Prayer has been working with Elam, a ministry that is based in Iran and works with Persian-speaking and Farsi-speaking people. And so we have a national director who looks after our work in Iran, and she has put us in contact with a guy called Farshid, who's a pastor currently living in Turkey and who is an Iranian who served out there. And his story is phenomenal, but it's a story of prayer. I don't think we can't, it's not one of those stories that you think that's never going to happen to me, because definitely what happened to him is never going to happen to you or me. But we can learn so much about joy from this man and about what it means to keep going in the midst of challenge.
Yeah. His story is incredibly challenging. And I think for me, one of the big takeaways was it's easy to say and feel like we know certain theological truths, you know?
Yeah.
We talk about a peace that passes understanding, for example. But this is a man who has tested that principle to the very extreme and can say, he just testifies exactly how he felt in certain situations where, it defies all logic, and yet he held on to something very tangible, very real, and he's going to speak into that for us now. So this is Farshid's story. Please do be advised that the nature of this podcast will cover some sensitive subjects.
Farshid, so lovely to have you here on the podcast today. Tell me who you are, where are you from, and what do you do?
As you said, my name is Farshid Fatih. I was born and raised in Iran, in an Islamic family. I was born actually right after the Islamic Revolution in 1979.
Wow.
Then my older brother, at the end of 1995, gave his life to the Lord as the first member of the family. And till those days, well, Jesus was like a prophet because I was Muslim, and I was believing Jesus was a prophet who came to the world as a prophet. But in those days, because I was seeing a real transformation in my brother's life, then I started to think again about this Jesus, because even though I was 17, I was seeing a different Jesus in our house. He was able to save my brother from depression.
Wow.
He actually attempted suicide 2 times, and we were not talking to each other for over 2 years. You can imagine, we were living at the same room, not even one single word.
Wow.
Birthday was coming, New Year coming, but not even the same. We hated each other very much. But after he gave his life to Jesus, I was seeing he's listening to some strange songs. It was the first time I was hearing the worship songs in Farsi, which was amazing. Even though I was not a believer, somehow I was touched by those songs. Then my brother came to me after 2 years. He hugged me. He asked for forgiveness. I was shocked. I was thinking, what happened to him? And then I realized he became Christian. So since that moment, I started to read his New Testament in private. I didn't, because of the pride I had, I didn't want him to know I'm interested about that. So I started reading his Bible, his New Testament in private for almost 2 months.
Wow.
And I can tell you 2 things really touched me. The first one was, even though it was the first time I was reading the Word of God in Persian, in my own language, but it was like a familiar voice for my soul. It was understandable somehow. And the second thing is, I was seeing God as a father. For me, as a Muslim guy, it was unbelievable. Some people introduce themselves with their education, with their family background, with their victories they have in life. But I really prefer to introduce myself by what he has done in my life. Then I'm a father too, of course. I have 2 children. My daughter is going to be 20.
Oh my goodness. You don't sound that old.
You have to see my face.
Oh, you should see mine.
Okay. So my daughter is going to be 20 in 9 days.
Wow.
Rosanna, yeah, and my son Bardia is almost 15. Yeah, I'm a father. I became a pastor officially in 2005 through Elam Ministry. I'm a Bible teacher, mentor, and I am his beloved more than
His beloved.
anything else.
That's so
I
good.
love that.
And that idea that you said, Farshid, of a familiar voice for the soul,
Mm-hmm.
do you find that's what resonates when you're sharing faith in your context? Is that, you know, the idea of Father God that you talked about as well? Because for I guess for Hannah and myself, we don't always quite understand the context, the Muslim or Islamic context in which you find yourself. How radical is the idea of a Father God who listens?
Well, it is super radical because the relation, actually there is no relationship. The type of communication you are trying to have with God as a Muslim, it's not as a father. It's a God which is very far from you and unreachable. And actually, there is a verse in Quran said there is God doesn't have any son. So if God doesn't have any son, regarding to Quran, so you cannot call him as a father. So it was very radical. But Iranian people, especially today, they're seeking the relationship, not religion. Now, always I say religion can kill relationship, and Iranian these days they're looking for relationship, and that's a beautiful uh, relationship to have to be in touch with him as a father. This is very. It was far from my imagination as a Muslim guy. This is so radical.
I mean, so many questions, Farshid. Thank you for already. I feel like I've just learned so much from what you've just shared about your context, and I guess I'm interested to know. So you have this moment of like stealing your brother's Bible sneakily. I mean, we've all of us probably have stolen our stuff from our siblings, but what a great thing to steal his Bible, and then making your way into a church, having to go to the basement because they're nervous that you might be there to kill them. Is what I'm hearing, and so that's the kind of the beginning of this journey, and then we know that you then put your faith in Jesus and end up getting in quite a lot of trouble for that. Could you share a little bit of that journey and what happened next?
Sure. Actually, that journey started with joy, and I will tell you. And when they took me to the basement, two brothers came. I had many questions in my mind after reading New Testament for a couple of months. I was telling myself, I'm gonna ask them what it means. Jesus is the Son of God, and all these things. But two brothers came. They shared the good news with us, and I don't know why all the questions was disappear from my mind. So in that day, I had no idea about repentance or about Holy Spirit. But then one of the guy, he asked me, now, do you want to give your life to Jesus? That's in 1st of April 1996. That was on a Friday night, Friday evening. So even though I had no idea what it means giving my life to Jesus in that night, I said yes.
Wow.
And also my brother's friend said yes. Again, they didn't let us go to the main hall for the rest of the service, and they told us you can go and buy a New Testament from our bookshop, and for example, come next week, for example, on Tuesday. Anyway, what I remember is even though I had no idea about the real meaning of repentance, faith, and Holy Spirit, but as soon as I put my foot on the street out of the church, I realized something happening, something actually moving in me.
Wow.
So I said to my brother's friend, I said, Mama Raza, I don't know what happened, but something in me is moving.
Wow.
Let's run. I cannot walk.
Wow.
So I remember, as a teenager, I was 17, he was 19. We came out to the street, and like two crazy boys, we started to run as fast as possible. So I remember this is how the journey started for me, by joy, by joy of the Holy Spirit.
The
So
journey
then,
started with joy.
It's
yeah, the journey really
beautiful.
started with joy. And I can tell you, I could see the footprint of that joy for the rest of my life, even in the
Wow.
darkness time of my life. Still, I could feel the footprint of that joy. So this is how the journey started. A year after that, I realized I had a calling for kids. So I became a Sunday school teacher for 11 years. And then also a little bit after, I became a worship leader. And always I was saying, I have no idea for full-time ministry. I had a good job. I said, I would like to have my job and also serving the Lord until December 2003, when the earthquake happened in Bam. And I
Hmm.
can tell you, over 30,000 people died in 12 seconds. It happened in Christmas time. And
Yeah.
so I remember when I saw in the TV the pain of people who died because of the earthquake.
Sorry, Farshid, the earthquake was where was that? It was in northern Iran or in
That was almost in the
the
center,
center
city
of...
of Bam. Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember my daughter was 3 months in those days because she was born, as I told you, in October, and it happened in December. So, and I had the 1 week off from my, I was able to get 1 week off from my job and go and help whatever I can do. I remember I came to the church. I asked one of the elder. I told him I can go 1 week and do whatever I can do to
Wow.
help these
Hmm.
people. And I remember when the elder looked at me and said, "Sorry, we don't have any plan for BAM."
Wow.
And in my heart, I got a bit disappointed actually,
Hmm.
because I
Mm.
was telling myself, if we as a church, if we don't have any plan for people who are in that pain,
Yeah.
then who has the plan?
Yeah, great question.
So still my heart was burning for those people, even though I had I had a sad answer from him. So I had a friend, he was a missionary in Iran. He was a pastor from South Korea, Pastor Lee, and he was serving the Lord as a missionary in Iran, hidden missionary somehow, for decades, and
Wow.
for 2 decades almost. And I went to him, we were friends together. I said, Pastor Lee, I can go to BAM. I can get 1 week off. I didn't use my off days this year, and I can go and serve. And he said, yes, actually, I know a Korean brother. He want to go there. So we went there together. The brother who came from South Korea, and also we went there. I went there actually to stay for 1 week, but I stayed there for 1 year
Oh my goodness.
because yeah, because when I went there after 3 4 days, I met people from Elam ministry. I knew Elam. I was friend with them from I knew about them. But
Brilliant.
one of my friend from UK, he actually came from Elam to see what they can do. And while I was distributing hygiene kits in a camp, I heard someone is calling my name, Farshid, Farshid, what are you doing here? I said, oh, what are you doing here? I thought you're in England. He said, no, we came here for help and we are looking for someone as a project manager to stay here and help these people. I said, you know what? My daughter is just 3 months and my job only I have 1 week. I had a very good job in a shipping line. And also my wife, I need to ask her, I need to pray anyway. After I did all these things, after a few days, I said yes. And
Wow.
I decided to stay there 23 days in BAM and 4 days in Tehran. I have a lot to share about that 1 year, but
Wow.
I think because of the time, we cannot go into that. But after that, yeah, we came to England. I studied in Elam College. Um, and after 6 months, actually, I had an offer to be a pastor in Manchester. They had 40 Iranians there. But I told them, no, I would like to go back to my country. How
Yes.
many
Mm.
pastors we have in Iran? There are many pastors in England and all over the world,
Yeah.
but
And
not
and
in Iran.
Farshid, if you've ever been to Manchester, I think you may have made a better choice. Oh,
Yeah. But God had a better plan. I will tell you. So, yeah, I went back to Iran in summer 2005, but unfortunately, the church I was in there before, they were monitoring by the government, they were under the pressure. So, I've decided it's better to leave that church because they were so afraid of the government
mm-hmm.
and they were
Mm-hmm.
monitoring by the government. So I came to my home and I started underground church with two families. From two families to 4 families, 10 families. And in 5 years, by God's grace, and by the 3 months course actually we have in Elam, we planted 48 churches in 20 cities, in Iran.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to get that, 48 churches in 20
Yeah.
cities
Yeah,
in 5 years.
Yeah. From 2005 until December 2010. December 2010
Wow.
is another chapter of my life.
What happened next? We're fascinated.
Actually, on 26th of December 2010, all of our houses got attacked by the intelligence service of Iran. They came to arrest all of us. Somehow they find out about our ministry, and they came to arrest all of us.
Gosh.
So I was sleeping in my mother-in-law's house, and my mother-in-law and my brother-in-law also, they were the church leader. They were people that I sent them for the courses. Somehow I introduced them to be a pastor and all these things. I trained them, I teach them. We were sleeping in their house on that night. But on 26th of December, 6 in the morning, I woke up with the voice of the strangers. I heard the voice that is telling, if you cooperate, nobody's going to get hurt. And then I saw 5 big men with beard. They came inside, and I realized they should be from the intelligence service. So anyway, they came to arrest my mother-in-law and my brother-in-law. And at the same time, they were going to my house. But because I was not at home, they broke the door of my home. But in that moment, I had no idea. I thought just they came to arrest them. Anyway, in a miraculous way, they didn't recognize me, that I'm a senior pastor. I founded this church.
Wow.
So after searching 2 hours, I was sitting on the bench, and they took also my mobile. That was a very important mobile because all the church members' number was that.
Gosh.
And some of them, they had governmental job. You can imagine what is going to happen for them. But they took that mobile as well. Then I realized they asked me to fill a form about the personal information. I wrote my personal information, but again, they didn't have a look on that. So after 2 hours, they were almost taking my mother-in-law and my brother-in-law to prison. And I was sitting on the couch, and they were just looking at me with the eyes was actually their eyes was talking somehow, that like he's the one, he is the main, he's our pastor.
Wow.
And he's sitting there. But they didn't say anything. And then I came to the guy from the government. I said, excuse me, can I take my children to the school? My daughter was 7 at that time, and my son was less than 2. It was actually 5 days before his second birthday. And then the guy looked at me and they asked me, what you were doing in this house again? Can you tell me? I said, yes, we were just guests here, and we stayed here. That's all. And then he went back. He went to ask someone, came back and said, yes, you can go. Then I told him, would you please give me back my mobile? He said, which one? I said, this one. So I took the mobile. And also I took my children, and in front of the eyes of my enemy.
Wow.
And also in front of the eyes of the church member, like the other minister, I came out from the house, and I start calling other pastors, but no one answered. Then I realized they arrested all of them.
Oh my goodness.
Then someone called me from my home, and I was thinking, who is calling me? Because I was there, nobody's there. Our home is empty. The people from intelligence service, they were calling me there, and they asked me, you should come home. We want to ask you some question. And then I said, let me think. And then I hang on the phone, and they will keep calling me, but I was not answering. And I was thinking, and all I'm saying you now, it's all happened in 1 minute, maybe.
Yeah, it's a very quick.
Yeah, because I was looking at my daughter. She was sitting at the front. I remember her face very well. And also I looking at my son. He was sitting in his seat car. I was looking at him from the mirror. I was looking at myself in the mirror. And finally, because I had a chance to escape from the country, as you know, maybe you know or not, but we were good friends of the smuggler from Turkey, because from Turkey we were trying to bring Bible inside somehow.
I see. So there was a smuggler who smuggled Iranians out into Turkey.
Yeah.
And he was your friend.
Exactly. I had a friend, and he already told me if anything happened, just come to the border, and we will bring you. This story goes back for 2010. So
Wow.
anyway, I was thinking, what shall I do?
Mm.
Shall I disappear? Shall I take the kids? Shall I go back? And I can say for two reasons somehow I decided to say goodbye to my children and turn myself in.
Yeesh.
The first one was maybe because I saw the faces of my ministry team.
Yeah.
There were two people from my ministry team,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw their faces. Later on, I was thinking maybe if I was not seeing their eyes, which was somehow asking for help,
Yeah.
maybe it was easier for me to
Yeah.
close my eyes and
Yeah.
just go. But I
Wow.
couldn't forget their faces. And the second reason I have decided to turn myself in is I think it's already written in the Gospel of John, chapter 10. The part
Mm.
that says, the good shepherd lay his life for the sheep, but the one who is the hired, when he see the wolf is coming, leave the sheep and run away.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
was thinking, am I a hired or a shepherd?
Mm.
Wow.
In that time, officially I was a pastor for 5 years in those days, and I was thinking, yes, I was supporting financially. I was supporting by the church, by Elam ministry, but it was not for the money. I mean, for
Mm-hmm.
some
Mm-hmm.
work, maybe it's possible you receive money, but you are not doing that job because of the money. So finally, I have decided, okay, we came to my daughter's school. She was in grade one because in Iran, they go to school when they are 7. Anyway, I came out from my car. I bowed down before her in the street. And I said, I want to tell you, Rosanna, that loves you so much, but probably we are not going to see each other for a while. And I remember my daughter hugged me as strong as she can
Mm-hmm.
without any word. Just she
Yeah.
was holding me in her arms for maybe 10, 12 seconds. And finally, she went to the school. And then I came to my son's kindergarten. I remember that was the last time I saw my daughter. Then I met her again after 10 years when she
Oh.
was 17. And then I came to see my son. I came to say goodbye to my son. I remember I kissed him from head, hand, everywhere. And I gave him to his teacher. And then I couldn't see him for 12 years. The next time I met my son, it was this
Mm.
Christmas, actually, last Christmas,
Wow.
after 12 years. But he was 14, not look like the 2 years old boy
No.
I said goodbye to
They
him now.
grow. They grow.
Farshid, can I
Yeah.
can I just say, like, this is for me, my kids are currently, so my daughter is 5, my little boy is about to be 2. So that, I mean, I literally, I did that this morning. I said goodbye to the one at school and the
Mm.
other one at nursery, and the thought of that hug, and knowing I'm not gonna see. I mean, how do you choose Jesus in that moment? That is like,
Mm.
what were you feeling?
Wow, that was one of the most special moments in my life. Um, I had pain, I had fear, but at the same time, I had peace, and I knew this is the right things to do. But I can confess here that I had no idea it's gonna take
Sure.
10 years or 12 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
If it was not because of the technology, if I was not able to see any photo, especially from my son, it was possible. Today we go to the same supermarket. I take the bottle of water. He took his chewing gum. He paid for himself. I pay for myself, and we do not recognize each other. Um, I had no idea it's going to take that long.
So Rashid, sorry, and I totally get that. Why was it 10 years? What happened?
Because for the first 5 years I was in prison. And then I was in solitary confinement and locked up room for 1 year, almost 1 year, for 361 days. I
gosh,
was in solitary. I haven't seen sun in the sky for 5, 6 months. I
Wow.
haven't seen myself in the mirror for 361 days.
Wow.
wow,
And my cell was 2 meter to 2 meter. And then they took me to a bigger cell, 4 meter to 4 meter. I always had blindfold, and so that's another story. But when I was in solitary, after 8 months, suddenly my wife disappeared. She took our kids and all we had, and they had to leave the country
Sure.
because also she was under the pressure, and um,
Wow.
also our relationship was not in a good situation when they arrested me. That was another reason. So that's why she disappeared, and he took the kids. It took 5 years, but when I came out from prison, and then she applied for divorce. We got divorced while I was in prison, and because of that divorce, and because our relationship ended up in a time that I was in prison, she was not cooperating to bring kids to Turkey, then I can meet them. So it took another five
Yeah.
years, another 7 years, and finally, um,
Wow.
by God's grace and people's prayer, also she cooperated. Finally, I was able to meet my children, our children, actually. Always I say our children. So yeah, that's the reason.
Thank you so much for your honesty on that one.
Yeah, I'm not saying I was the good husband and all was his fault. No, definitely it was my fault too. I believe in every marriage, every broken marriage, two part has their own issues.
That's so kind of you, and we really appreciate that. So Farshid, I'm just trying to for our listeners out there. Obviously, we're telling this story, and how do you maintain a footprint of joy when you're in prison? For I guess you went to prison for your faith. You were 361 days in solitary confinement is just unbelievable, and then you were a further 4 or so years in prison. Did you lose your joy?
Well, as you said, yes, I spent 5 years in prison in total, without one day off, and many other things happen. I can say, you can have joy and pain at the same time.
Wow.
Mm.
This is what I believe. Um, Actually, it's written in the book of Hebrew about the moment that Jesus was on the cross. It's mentioned because of the joy he had
Yeah.
ahead of him,
Yeah.
the joy and cross. So definitely he was in pain, but at the same time, yeah, joy. I can tell you, I had painful time in prison. I had tearful time in prison. I remember the first time I cried was 5 days after they arrested me on my son's birthday because I had many plans. I ordered things. I invited guests for my son's birthday, and then I was seeing myself in solitary. So I had tearful times, but I can say time to time I was able to see the footprint of that joy in my time in prison. So always I say you cannot have happiness
Mm.
without. I'm saying without pain. Happiness comes from what happened to you, which is the lack of pain or sorrow and problem. But I believe joy is coming from another source.
It's
So
good.
sometime in a painful time, you can have joy. On the bed in your hospital, in the hospital, still you can have joy. In
Mm.
these days, I'm far from my children. I'm trying to get to Canada to be with them, actually to be for them. But when I wake up in the morning, still I have that joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is how I can answer to this question. Joy and pain could be at the same box, but not happiness and pain.
Yeah.
I think that's such an important message. And so many of our listeners will be hearing this podcast today, and right now their circumstances are really challenging. Maybe not like, solitary confinement levels of challenging, but we know like so many people are going to be journeying hard times. And I think that message that's not just kind of a theological truth, but is actually a lived reality that you have walked through, that you've experienced that joy from another source, that it is real. And even the fact that you could say, that you felt peace in that moment. The scriptures
Yeah.
talk about a peace that passes understanding.
Yeah.
But the fact that you experienced it is beautiful. It really brings to life what we kind of know in our heads is true.
Another thing I can add to this also, there is love there.
Mm-hmm.
Love had a really important role in the whole journey, especially in those 5 years. I remember when I came out from prison, my friend and our executive director, David Yegnazar, asked me, Farshid, what you have in your backpack? If you can just bring one thing out from your backpack after 1,820 days being in prison, for the sake of the gospel, what you have there. I said, David, if I want like just to give you one thing, I can say this is what I receive, that the greatest manifestation of love is suffering.
Wow.
I mean, if you want to see how deeply you are in love with someone, you have to see how far you are ready to suffer for that someone.
Wow.
Hannah mentioned about her children, and I have two children. You know, if someone asks a father or mother how far you are ready to suffer for your child, it's so hard to put a border and say, "Oh,
Yeah.
until here."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
There
endless.
is no border; it's endless. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if my daughter needs kidney, of course I will give my kidney to her.
Yeah.
But what if she needs the eye? Of course, if there is no other option, if one of us should to see the world, that's her,
Mm-hmm.
not me.
Yeah.
So, but I'm gonna suffer to live as a blind for the rest of my life. But what about heart? You see, there is no border.
No.
Okay, if there is only one heart needed, I am ready to give that heart to her
Mm-hmm.
or him, to my son. That's why Jesus said, actually, there is no greater love for someone to give, to lay his life for someone.
That's right.
Wow. Farshid, when you talk about love, and you just said 1,820 days in prison,
Yeah, in total.
how do you feel about your captors?
I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for them. They lost. They don't know what they are doing. And I remember one of my interrogator um, got a kind of cancer. I heard from someone, and in those days I was in prison, and I announced, actually I had a call of prayer and fasting for him, because I heard my interrogator is struggling with cancer. Actually, he was my first interrogator that he beat me in the face in my home. When I came back to turn myself in, they were so angry because they thought I escaped. And when I came back, they were really surprised. And so that's why they start beating me in the face. But when I heard that guy is sick, I asked my friends, I sent a letter from prison and asked them to pray for him. And I remember some other prisoners, when they heard about the call of prayer for my enemy, they became angry. I
Yeah.
remember they became very much angry. They said, why you are praying for this guy?
Yeah.
I said, because he's lost.
Wow.
And also the other day in prison, they came for inception and they broke my toe, my left toe, and they kept me in pain. I was in pain for 3 days.
So that's part of an interrogation.
No, it was after the interrogation. I was spending my years in prison. After being in prison for 3 years, one day they came, with a guard came, many people came to search for if who has cell phone, who has any illegal stuff. And actually I went, and they started to beating some of the prisoners. It happened in April
Mm.
2000, April 2014. It was a big news because they broke someone's head, they broke someone else's ribs, and they broke my toe as well, my leg, my left foot. And because they came to the T at the same night, the guy who was in charge for all the prisons in Iran, he came to the TV, and in front of 80 million people, he started lying, and he said, "These are all fake news. Nothing happened to any of prisoners." And we were all shocked. We were look at the TV. I said, "Who we are then?" Because we are all in blood. And because of that guy came to the national TV and he said nothing happened to anyone, because of that they didn't take us to the hospital.
Oh my goodness.
So for 3 days. And you know what? This is actually the moment I discovered somehow you can have pain and joy at the same time.
Wow.
Because the day they broke my toe was on Thursday. Which Thursday? A day before Good Friday. So they kept me in pain from Friday, Saturday, and then finally on Sunday morning, on Resurrection Day of Jesus, exactly that day and exactly at the same time. Usually we were gathering in the church. Usually 6:30 in the morning in Iran, we
Yeah.
were gathering in the church for prayer and breakfast.
Yeah.
So
Sunrise.
after 3 years and a half, they put me in chain and shackle to another soldier, but they brought me out from prison to take me to the hospital. And as soon as I sat in the minibus, still I was in deep pain because of my leg, because of my foot. But at the same time, I had joy. I
Wow.
said, Lord, exactly at the time that you resurrected from the dead, I'm out. I can see the trees. I can see people. I can hear the birds are singing. And
Wow.
in that minibus, I realized, yes, you can have pain and joy at the same time.
Wow. Chained to a prison guard in a
Yeah,
bus,
chained to a prison
broken
guard. Yeah.
foot. Here comes the joy.
And
Wow.
I was the only one among the other prisoners that I didn't write any letter to the court to try to bring them to the court. Of course, those who wrote as a claim, nothing happened for them because they were in the governmental side.
Yeah.
But I was not the only one. But instead of that, I released a letter. I said, "Do you know why I didn't write a letter to claim? Because I am trying to follow the voice of my Lord, which is coming after 2,000 years from his cross, which saying, Father, please forgive them. They don't know what they are doing. And I'm trying to tune my life with that sound, with that strong voice. It's like a bomb. Still, after 2,000 years, it's repeating, Father, please forgive them. Father, please forgive them.
Wow.
So that was the reason. And that is how I'm feeling for them, for those who put me in captivity. But in the other hand, I really pray that one day, soon, this darkness go away from our country. And
Yeah.
I'm looking for that day we turn on TV and said there is no Islamic Republic and Iran become a free
Sure.
country.
Wow.
I'm praying for that day. I don't have anything personal with them because our fight is not with the flesh and blood.
Yeah.
But we are standing against the darkness until this wall fall down.
Amazing. Father, please forgive them. That's so beautiful, Farshid. And we are deeply moved here just listening to your story.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of questions because I could listen all day, but we realize we have to move forward. Now, tell me, Farshid, what do you think awakening? We talk in England about, we're praying for the next great awakening. We want to see revival. What would awakening in Iran look like?
I believe revival not starting from people, start from the churches.
Yes. Yeah.
This is what I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And we see when we see the awakenings inside the church, then we will see revival out of the church.
Wow.
Yeah.
The problem I want to see more mature, faithful Iranian leaders raise up. And I think that is going to be very helpful for the revival that we are somehow slowly experiencing. This is
Yeah.
one thing. The other thing is many people in Iran who become Christian, most of them, because of the danger, because of the situation from the authority, they are hiding their faith somehow. I think as soon as those who are Christian in Iran stop hiding their faith and proclaiming their faith in different ways, I think we will see a big revival there.
Wow.
Who knows how many Christians we have in Iran, but at least, from Muslim background, but at least we have 1 million.
Amazing.
But are these 1 million people expressing their faith, proclaiming their faith? Most of them not. They're hiding. But one of the reasons that our church was growing from 2-4 family to 48 churches is people. One of the reasons people, they were proclaiming their faith. When they were going to get their ID, they wrote there, when I went to the military service, which was very dangerous for me, but I wrote, I'm Christian. I was a believer for 2 years on those days. And then when they're going to send their kids to the street, I mean, I know it's going to be a big problem for them. I know that. But when 500,000 of people, when 1 million people are ready to pay the price for that, finally, the authority, they have to accept our existence. Somehow, now they are trying to deny our existence. Today, they don't know, not that much, but it's much more than. When I say 1 million, I can tell you most people are disagree with me. They say, no, it's much more than that. But let's say at least 1 million.
Yeah.
So that's why we need courageous believers to proclaim their faith. Because I believe when you express three things, the real power will release. The first one is love. If you hide your love, it's like there is no power in your life. Jesus didn't hide his love for us. He shouted on the cross.
Yeah.
He came to the earth to express. It's like someone love his wife or husband but never tell her.
Yeah.
There is no that much power on that. But as soon as you say that, you say, I love you, something going to happen. And the other thing is faith. When you proclaim your faith, when you express your faith, then the power in your faith is going to release. And also the third one, I believe, is forgiveness.
Wow.
When you announce your forgiveness, you say, I forgive you.
Amazing.
I have been with people in Rajaisha prison. Most of them, they were under the execution. And in Iran, there is a law, if you kill someone, they're going to kill you. And after keeping you in prison, they're taking the guy, they put rope around his neck. And the family of people who got killed also is there. And they are going to ask the family, are you going to forgive this guy or not? If they say no, that guy will die in that moment.
Goodness.
If they forgive that guy only in their heart, that's not going to save the life of the guy.
Yeah.
They have to say that. They have not just in the heart. They have to say, yes, I forgive you. If they say, I forgive you, that proclamation has power to bring this guy from death to life.
Oh, wow.
So we are trying to train people in Iran to proclaim their faith, stand for their faith, and be ready to suffer for their faith. Because I believe, as Paul said to Timothy, whoever wants to have a godly life will suffer, no matter in England, in United States, or in Iran, or in North Korea. Just it's a different type of suffering.
Yeah.
Because we are all like people who are swimming against the waves.
Yeah.
So this is how I see that.
Amazing.
That's amazing, Farshid.
And Farshid, they're just beautiful lessons coming. I think I was saying, what would awakening look like? And Hannah did say, at the minute, the stats would say that the church in Iran is the fastest growing church in the world. And we are humbled that you're talking to us about it and sharing us some of the lessons. But we have one final question for you. Sorry, we would love to listen to you all day, my friend. One day we can sit and eat some spicy lamb together, and
I will come to UK as soon as I can.
Wow,
I will be happy to meet you in person.
Brilliant.
Farshid, we've been asking everyone this question. What is one experience, when you think back over your life, what is one experience of prayer that you will never forget?
Actually, I have experience in Armenia in 2007. I never forget, but I never recommended to anyone to do that prayer.
Okay.
And I never did it in my life again. I was in Armenia, out of Yerevan, the capital, and it was a conference. We were started to worshiping and praying, for example, at 6, 7, and it took till 11, 12 at night, 5, 6 hours. And I was really filled by the Spirit. I was like a drunk guy by the Spirit, really. People, they were still worshiping in that salon. I came out from that place, but I was able to listen to the music still. And then I lay down on the green and I look at the sky. It was full of the stars. I never seen a sky like that. And then I started to continue my prayer with the Lord. And I said one thing that I never said again. I said, I know you are hearing my voice. I know that. But if you are really hearing my voice, please show me a shooting star right now. And you know what happened? Nothing happened. No shooting star. No shooting star. And I was lying down there and for maybe 1-2 minutes. And I said, Lord, if you are saying you're hearing my voice, if your word, I remember my prayer, if your word is telling me you are listening to me, I believe, I'm sure you are listening to me. But just I wanted to tell you, I was very happy if you were showing me that shooting star. When I said that shooting star, as soon as I said that, I saw a very big shooting star on the sky.
Come on.
And I stood up, I was crying, I was jumping, I was celebrating. Then I said to myself, what are you doing, Farshid? Of course he's hearing your voice. And then later on I was thinking, what happened in your heart, Father? That when I was telling these things from your side, what was happening in your heart? One shooting star for my son, or among this is the experience that I never forget that.
Amazing.
But I never repeated and I never recommended to anyone.
No, and some of our listeners may be this evening lying in their back garden, staring at the sky, asking the Lord to send a shooting star. But that's a beautiful story.
And for me, nothing happened. For me, nothing happened when I said that.
I did it once. I asked for a shooting star once. And did happen, yeah.
Do you want to hear my one? I was on a boat. We had a bit of a challenge with our children on holiday the year before, and I was really nervous about going on holiday. And I remember standing at the front of a ferry from Ibiza to Barcelona, and I said, God, if you're with me, can you show me a dolphin?
Wow.
And then I said to myself, Brian, you're being so stupid. So I said, God, I don't need to see a dolphin. I trust you. And the minute I said, I trust you, 3 dolphins started leaping around in front. So it was like, and it was like the Trinity in dolphin form.
Theologically, I don't think it was the Trinity in dolphin form. Just to caveat that.
Wow, you see, I love the
that's beautiful
of God. The same time that we say, okay, we don't believe in that, we don't, and then he showed that. But I would like to add this as well. I am so grateful for the time that the answer of my prayer was no from him.
Yeah.
I really, really, I appreciate hearing no from him.
Yeah.
I had few no as an answer of my prayer, and I'm grateful for that as well.
Amazing.
He's a very kind God, isn't he?
Yeah, so good.
Every
day when I wake up, every day, it's a part of my routine. I'm listening to the song, The Goodness of God, every morning.
Beautiful.
And I love the part that said, you are so, so good to me. And that's the truth.
Wow.
He was so, always I say, Lord, if you don't answer any of my prayer for the rest of my life, it is going to be so hard and painful for me. But I can tell you, you are still good. Because when I look back to the 44 years of my life, actually you answered my prayer for 120 years. It's more above my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thank you. Wow. So
3 times above my head.
Farshid, thank you for bringing that joy to this podcast. The footprint of joy is evident all over your life. Your love for Jesus, the fact that you, after all you have been through, you still carry the joy of the Lord in your heart and it overflows out of you. So bless you, my brother. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you coming to be with us.
Thank you for being a great host. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the 24/7 Prayer Podcast. If you'd like to find out more about our work, please do visit 247prayer.com.